I'm standing in the marble foyer of the Grandview Estate, clutching my master's degree in biomedical engineering, when I hear my father whisper to my brother, "Go change the will now," while she's distracted with all this celebration nonsense. 24 years of being the perfect daughter, the academic star, the one who's sacrificed everything for family honor, and this is how I discover that my own father has been planning to cut me out of our family's fortune the moment I achieved my greatest success. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The champagne flute trembles in my hand as I press myself against the cool stone pillar, hidden from view but close enough to hear every devastating word. Through the archway, I can see the elegant graduation party my parents threw for me, crystal chandeliers casting warm light over 50 of Harbor City's most influential families, all gathered to celebrate Natasha Pemberton's academic achievement. The irony burns like acid in my throat. Just 30 minutes ago, I was floating on cloud 9. Dean Richardson had just announced that I'd graduated summa cum laude from Crestmore University, the first person in our family's 3-generation history to earn a graduate degree. The pride in my mother's eyes, the way my father had stood to applaud louder than anyone else in the ballroom, it had felt like validation for every sleepless night, every social event I'd missed, every relationship I'd sacrificed to maintain my perfect 4.0 GPA. My parents, Reginald and Vivian Pemberton, had spared no expense for tonight's celebration. The ballroom of our family estate overlooks Sapphire Bay, where the setting sun paints the water in shades of gold and crimson. White roses and peonies cascade from every surface, and the finest caterers in Harbor City circulate with delicate hors d'oeuvres and vintage wine. Everything screams success, achievement, family pride. But now, hidden behind this pillar like a spy in my own home, I'm learning the truth about my place in the Pemberton legacy. The timing is perfect, my father continues in that low, calculated tone I remember from his business calls. Everyone's focused on the party. "Nathaniel, you need to drive to Whitmore and Associates tonight. Tell them there's been a change of heart about the inheritance structure." My older brother's voice responds with barely concealed excitement. "What about the company's shares? The Maplewood property? Everything goes to you and Celeste now. Split evenly between you two." Reginald's words hit me like physical blows. Natasha gets the small trust fund, enough to keep her comfortable, but nothing that gives her real power. I think of my younger sister Celeste, probably upstairs right now, deliberately missing my graduation party because she had a headache. The same sister who dropped out of college twice, who'd spent the last 3 years traveling Europe on our parents' credit cards, posting Instagram photos from luxury resorts while I buried myself in advanced biochemistry textbooks. And Nathaniel, my brother who'd barely scraped through business school, who'd failed to launch 2 startups with our father's money, who still lived at home at 28 because he couldn't manage his own finances. The golden children who'd contributed nothing to the family legacy but would inherit everything. "But why now?" Nathaniel asks. "I thought you were proud of her degree." Reginald's laugh is bitter, cold. "Proud? Son, I'm terrified. Do you know what kind of connections she's made at Crestmore? What kind of opportunities will come her way? She'll start thinking she doesn't need family money, that she can build her own empire. Independent women are dangerous to family unity." The champagne glass slips from my numb fingers, shattering against the marble floor. The sound echoes through the foyer like a gunshot. I freeze, heart hammering, as their conversation stops abruptly. "What was that?" Vivian's voice carries from the ballroom, sharp with concern. "Probably just a server," Nathaniel replies quickly. "Dad, we should get back to the party before people notice we're missing." "Right. Remember, Nathaniel, tonight. And not a word to your mother or sister until it's done. This is for the good of the family." Their footsteps approach the foyer. I dart toward the service staircase, my graduation gown rustling as I climb toward the 2nd floor. In the safety of my childhood bedroom, I sink into the window seat where I used to study for hours, overlooking the gardens where I'd played as a child. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Everything I thought I knew about my family, about my future, about the reward for my years of dedication, it's all been a lie. While I was pushing myself to academic excellence, believing that achievement would secure my place in the Pemberton dynasty, my own father was planning to ensure I'd never have real power or independence. The celebration continues below. I can hear the string quartet playing Vivaldi, the gentle murmur of conversation, the occasional burst of laughter. Everyone downstairs believes they're celebrating my success. In reality, they're attending the wake for my future as I knew it. My diploma lies on the dresser where I'd placed it so carefully just hours ago, planning to frame it tomorrow morning. Next to it sits the acceptance letter from Meridian Pharmaceuticals, the dream job I'd earned through my thesis research on revolutionary cancer treatments. The opportunity that would make me financially independent, intellectually fulfilled, and professionally respected. The opportunity my father apparently sees as a threat to his control. 24 years of being the perfect daughter, and this is my reward. But as I sit here in the growing darkness, listening to my graduation party continue without me, something cold and determined settles in my chest. If my father wants to play games with the family fortune, he's about to learn that his academically brilliant daughter is capable of strategies he never anticipated. I take a steadying breath and return to the ballroom, my graduation gown flowing behind me like armor. The crystal chandelier casts dancing shadows across the polished marble floor as I weave through clusters of Harbor City's elite. Everyone turns to congratulate me, their faces bright with admiration, completely unaware of the family drama unfolding beneath the surface of this perfect celebration. Natasha, darling. Mrs. Wellington from the Harbor City Arts Council rushes over, her diamond necklace glittering. Your parents must be absolutely bursting with pride. A master's in biomedical engineering from Crestmore University, simply extraordinary. I force my best smile, the one I've perfected through years of family social events. Thank you, Mrs. Wellington. It's been quite a journey. But my eyes are scanning the room, studying the family dynamics I've somehow been blind to my entire life. There's my father, Reginald, commanding attention near the grand piano, his silver hair perfectly styled, his navy suit tailored to perfection. He's holding court with the mayor and several prominent businessmen, gesticulating as he tells some story that has them all laughing. The thing about the Pemberton family, he's saying, his voice carrying across the room with practiced authority, is that we understand legacy. Building something that lasts requires vision, discipline, and knowing who can be trusted with responsibility. The irony cuts deep. Vision and discipline, traits I'd demonstrated by maintaining a perfect academic record while working part-time in research labs. Responsibility, something I'd shown by turning down lucrative internship offers that would have taken me away from Harbor City because I wanted to stay close to family. Nathaniel appears at father's elbow, his own champagne glass raised in what looks like a toast to my success. My brother cuts a handsome figure in his black tuxedo, tall, charming, with the Pemberton dark hair and striking green eyes that have always made him popular at social gatherings. But I notice things I've overlooked before, the way his smile never quite reaches his eyes, how he positions himself slightly behind father's right shoulder, always ready to agree, never offering original thoughts. Natasha's achievement really puts our family on the map academically, Nathaniel says, and several heads nod approvingly. Of course, intellectual success and business acumen are quite different skill sets. The casual dismissal stings. I remember helping Nathaniel with his college economics papers, explaining complex financial theories until he finally grasped concepts that came naturally to me. I remember the relief in his voice when I'd walk him through business case studies he couldn't solve alone. Across the room, my mother Vivian glides between guests with practiced elegance, her champagne-colored silk gown complementing her auburn hair perfectly. She's worked this room for 20 years, building the social connections that support father's business empire. But as I watch her, I notice the careful choreography, how she steers conversations away from topics that might challenge family narratives, how she redirects attention when potentially uncomfortable subjects arise. Darling, she appears at my side, her arm linking through mine with maternal pride. Judge Hartwell was just asking about your plans post-graduation. I mentioned that wonderful offer from Meridian Pharmaceuticals. Judge Hartwell, a distinguished man with silver temples, nods approvingly. Impressive company. Though I imagine you'll be eager to contribute to the family enterprises as well. The Pemberton name carries significant weight in this city. Before I can respond, Vivian's grip on my arm tightens almost imperceptibly. Of course, we're exploring how Natasha's expertise might complement our existing ventures. Family businesses require such careful integration of new talents. The words sound supportive, but I catch the underlying message. Any career moves will be filtered through family approval, family benefit, family control. Where's Celeste tonight? I ask, though I already know the answer. Vivian's smile tightens just slightly. Oh, you know your sister. She had one of her migraines. The poor dear is so sensitive to excitement and crowds. Sensitive to accountability, more likely. Celeste has perfected the art of convenient illnesses whenever family obligations involve recognizing someone else's achievements. Last year, she'd missed Nathaniel's engagement party with the same mysterious condition, though her Instagram stories from that weekend showed her perfectly healthy at a beach resort in Santorini. As if summoned by our conversation, Celeste appears at the top of the grand staircase, descending slowly in a stunning emerald dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her blonde hair cascades in perfect waves, and she's applied just enough makeup to look naturally radiant. At 22, she's mastered the art of effortless beauty. I'm feeling so much better, she announces to the room, accepting a champagne flute from a passing server. I couldn't bear to miss celebrating my brilliant sister's achievement. The applause that greets her entrance is warm, genuine. Celeste has always been the family's social darling, charming, beautiful, seemingly innocent. She makes her way toward me with arms outstretched. Natasha. I'm so sorry I missed the formal ceremony. Tell me everything about your research presentation. But even as she embraces me, I notice how she positions herself to catch the light from the chandelier, how her laugh carries just the right note of sisterly affection for our watching audience. And I remember what I overheard, everything split evenly between Nathaniel and Celeste. The two children who've contributed least to family honor, receiving the greatest rewards. Your research on cancer cell regeneration sounds absolutely fascinating, Celeste continues, her voice pitched perfectly for the nearby conversations to overhear. Though I confess, all that scientific terminology goes completely over my head. Thank goodness we have you as the family genius. The compliment feels hollow now, tinged with the knowledge that my intelligence is seen as valuable for family prestige but dangerous for family control. I study my sister's face, looking for signs of awareness about tonight's hidden agenda. But Celeste has always been skilled at maintaining plausible deniability. Dr. Morrison, my former biochemistry professor, approaches with genuine warmth. Natasha, I wanted to congratulate you again on that groundbreaking thesis. The pharmaceutical industry is buzzing about your findings. Thank you, Professor. I couldn't have done it without your guidance. Nonsense. You have a rare gift for innovative thinking. Independent research requires tremendous discipline and vision. He pauses, glancing around at my family with curious eyes. I hope you'll continue pursuing original research. The scientific community needs minds like yours pushing boundaries. Independent. Original. Pushing boundaries. Everything my father apparently fears I might become. As Professor Morrison moves away, I catch Nathaniel and father exchanging a meaningful look across the room. Nathaniel checks his watch, 9:47 p.m. Father nods almost imperceptibly. The law offices of Whitmore and Associates close at 10, but senior partners make exceptions for the Pemberton family. How convenient that this celebration provides perfect cover for rewriting my future while I'm surrounded by witnesses to my academic success. The beautiful ballroom, the elegant guests, the proud family gathering, it's all an elaborate stage set for my betrayal. And I'm the only one who knows the real show is happening behind the scenes. The evening wears on with agonizing slowness, each passing minute heightening my awareness of the deception unfolding around me. I move through the crowd like an actress playing a role, accepting congratulations, and making small talk while my mind races with the implications of what I've discovered. The grandfather clock in the corner chimes 10 o'clock, and I notice Nathaniel slip quietly from the room, car keys already in his hand. Professor Martinez from the university's ethics department corners me near the dessert table, her eyes bright with intellectual curiosity. Natasha, I've been following your research publications. Your approach to cellular regeneration therapy could revolutionize cancer treatment. Have you considered the patent applications? The commercial potential alone could fund decades of additional research. Patents. Commercial potential. Independent funding. The very concepts that likely triggered Father's decision to alter his will. I hadn't thought that far ahead, Professor. I've been focused on the pure research aspects. Oh, but you must. Young researchers often underestimate the business side of scientific innovation. Your discoveries could make you independently wealthy while advancing human knowledge. It's the best of both worlds, financial freedom and intellectual fulfillment. The words hit like arrows finding their target. Financial freedom. Independence. Everything Father wants to prevent me from achieving. Mrs. Blackthorne, Mother's closest friend and Harbor City's most notorious gossip, materializes beside us with the predatory smile she reserves for extracting family secrets. Natasha, dear, you must tell us about your romantic prospects. Such an accomplished young woman surely has admirers lined up around the block. Before I can deflect, Mother appears with laser-focused intensity. Natasha has always been so dedicated to her studies. Romance can wait until she's properly established in her career path. The emphasis on properly established carries layers of meaning, under family guidance, within acceptable parameters, subject to parental approval. How refreshing! Mrs. Blackthorne exclaims. So many young people today rush into relationships without considering family compatibility. The Pemberton lineage deserves careful preservation. I excuse myself and drift toward the library, needing space to process the evening's revelations. But as I push open the heavy oak doors, I discover I'm not alone. Celeste stands at Father's massive mahogany desk, rifling through papers with focused determination. Looking for something? I ask, keeping my voice carefully neutral. She startles, dropping a manila folder that scatters documents across the Persian rug. Oh. Natasha, you scared me. Father asked me to find his reading glasses. He left them somewhere in here earlier. But the papers at her feet tell a different story. I glimpse letterhead from Whitmore and Associates, investment portfolio summaries, and what appears to be preliminary estate planning documents. Celeste scrambles to gather them, her cheeks flushed with guilt. Celeste. My voice carries a warning tone I've never used with her before. What are you really doing? For a moment, her carefully constructed innocence wavers. Something calculating flickers behind her blue eyes before the mask slides back into place. I told you, looking for Father's glasses. You're being paranoid, Tasha. All that studying has made you suspicious of everything. The nickname she's used since childhood, Tasha, now sounds patronizing, dismissive. I study my sister's face, noting the expensive diamond earrings that appeared mysteriously last month, the designer handbag that costs more than most people's cars, the subtle confidence that comes from knowing you're financially secure. Have you been happy? I ask suddenly. With your life choices? The traveling, the shopping, the complete absence of responsibility or achievement? Celeste's smile falters. What kind of question is that? Of course I'm happy. Not everyone needs to be a workaholic genius to find fulfillment. But what do you actually contribute? To the family, to society, to anything meaningful? The words hang in the air between us, years of unspoken resentment finally finding voice. Celeste's face hardens, revealing glimpses of the shrewd intelligence she's always hidden beneath her ditzy socialite persona. You think you're so superior, don't you? Her voice drops to a whisper, but the venom is unmistakable. Poor little Natasha, buried in her books, sacrificing everything for academic glory. Well, let me tell you something, sister dear, intelligence without wisdom is just elaborate stupidity. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've spent so many years with your nose in textbooks that you completely missed what was happening in the real world. You think Father values your degrees? Your research? Your precious achievements? She laughs, the sound bitter and knowing. He values control, Natasha. And right now, you're becoming too independent for his comfort. The admission hits like a physical blow. She knows. She's known all along about tonight's plan, about the will change, about everything. How long have you known? I ask quietly. Celeste straightens, her posture shifting from defensive to predatory. Known what, exactly? Don't play games with me. How long have you known about father's plans to cut me out of the inheritance? She studies my face for a long moment, seeming to weigh her options. Finally, she shrugs with practiced nonchalance. Since last month. Father called a family meeting, well, a meeting for the real family. You were at some boring conference in Boston, presenting your little research project. The casual cruelty of a real family cuts deeper than any shouted insult could. This is my sister, the person I've protected and covered for throughout our childhood, the one I helped with homework and defended against critics who called her shallow. You sat there and let father plan to betray me? Your own sister? Betray you? Celeste's laugh is genuinely amused. Natasha, you're getting a trust fund that will keep you comfortable for life. You're not being betrayed, you're being managed. There's a difference. Managed? Father built this empire over 30 years. He's not going to hand control to someone who might decide family loyalty comes second to personal ambition. She steps closer, her voice dropping to an intimate whisper. Your problem, dear sister, is that you actually believed all those bedtime stories about merit and fairness. You thought intelligence would be rewarded, that achievement would be recognized. The library feels suddenly claustrophobic, the walls of books that once represented knowledge and possibility now seeming like prison bars. And you're comfortable with this arrangement? Living off money you didn't earn, contributing nothing, being nothing more than a decorative dependent? I'm comfortable with being loved, Celeste replies sharply. Something you might want to consider before you burn every bridge in this family with your righteous indignation. Through the library windows, I can see the lights of Nathaniel's BMW pulling back into the circular driveway. 30 minutes, exactly enough time to drive to Whitmore and Associates, sign amended inheritance documents, and return to the party. My future has been rewritten while I stood in this room arguing with my sister about the value of achievement versus the comfort of dependence. Celeste follows my gaze and smiles with genuine warmth for the first time all evening. Nathaniel's back. Good timing, I think father wants to make a toast before the evening ends. She glides toward the door, pausing only to add, you might want to fix your expression, Tasha. You look like someone died. Tonight should be a celebration, after all. Your graduation, your bright future, your loving family supporting your dreams. The mockery in her voice is unmistakable. Alone in the library, surrounded by volumes of human knowledge and wisdom, I finally understand the lesson I somehow missed despite my academic brilliance. In some families, intelligence is not an asset to be cultivated but a threat to be neutralized. And I've just learned that I've been outmaneuvered by people I underestimated, people who understand power dynamics far better than I understand molecular structures. The question now is what I plan to do about it. I return to the ballroom with newfound clarity, my eyes scanning the crowd with the analytical precision I usually reserve for laboratory data. The elegant gathering takes on a different quality now. I'm no longer a grateful daughter basking in family pride, but a researcher observing subjects whose behavior patterns I've failed to recognize until tonight. Father stands near the marble fireplace, his posture radiating the quiet confidence of a man who's just secured his legacy according to his specifications. The gold-framed family portrait above him shows 4 smiling Pembertons, a perfect image of unity and success that now feels like an elaborate lie. He's surrounded by Harbor City's business elite, Mayor Thornfield, the Westbrook Industries board members, and several prominent attorneys who've built their careers facilitating the wealthy's dynastic ambitions. Reginald, you must be extraordinarily proud, declares Mr. Ashford from Ashford Maritime. A daughter with such intellectual gifts, surely she'll revolutionize whatever field she enters. Indeed, father replies, his voice carrying the measured tone he uses for important negotiations. Natasha has always exceeded our expectations. Though of course, the challenge with brilliant children is ensuring they channel their talents in directions that honor family values. The phrase, honor family values lands with surgical precision. I understand now that this isn't about pride in my achievements, it's about containing the threat those achievements represent to established hierarchies. Nathaniel rejoins the conversation, slipping seamlessly back into his role as the dutiful son. His face shows no trace of the momentous task he's just completed. I've always admired how Natasha balances intellectual pursuit with family loyalty. Not everyone can maintain those priorities as they become more independent. The word independent hangs in the air like a diagnosis of a terminal condition. I notice how the men's expressions shift slightly, a collective understanding passing between them. These are fathers and grandfathers who've spent decades ensuring their own legacies remain intact, their own family structures preserved against the chaos of changing times. Dr. Whitmore, ironically enough, joins their circle, the same Dr. Whitmore whose law firm just finished rewriting my inheritance rights. His silver hair and distinguished bearing make him look like Central Casting's idea of a trusted family attorney. The Pemberton family has always understood the delicate balance between nurturing talent and maintaining stability, he observes. It takes wisdom to know when guidance is necessary, even for the most gifted children. I move closer, pretending to admire the floral arrangements while listening to their conversation with newfound understanding. These men speak in code, their seemingly benevolent words masking a deeper philosophy about power, control, and the careful management of potential threats to established order. Natasha's research could have significant commercial applications, continues Mr. Ashford. Patent revenues, licensing agreements, potential pharmaceutical partnerships. The biomedical field is extraordinarily lucrative for innovators. Which is precisely why family involvement becomes essential, father responds smoothly. Individual success is wonderful, but it's dangerous when it leads to isolation from family wisdom. Young people can make impulsive decisions without proper guidance. The conversation continues around me as if I'm not standing 10 feet away, as if my future is an abstract concept rather than my actual life. They discuss my career prospects, my research potential, my need for appropriate mentorship, with the casual authority of livestock evaluators at an auction. Across the room, I spot Mrs. Chen from the university's technology transfer office, the woman responsible for helping faculty navigate patent applications and commercial partnerships. She's been trying to catch my attention all evening, clearly eager to discuss the business possibilities of my research. But every time she approaches, either Mother or Celeste mysteriously appears to redirect the conversation toward social topics. Now I understand the choreography. This entire evening has been carefully managed to prevent any discussions that might give me ideas about financial independence. The guest list, the conversation topics, even the timing of various interactions, all designed to celebrate my achievement while simultaneously containing its implications. Professor Reeves from the biochemistry department approaches with his characteristic enthusiasm. Natasha. I've been hoping to speak with you about the research fellowship opportunity at the Meridian Institute. Dr. Blackstone specifically requested your application after reading your thesis on cellular regeneration. Before I can respond, Vivian glides over with the practiced grace of a social hostess who's mastered the art of strategic interruption. Professor Reeves, how delightful to see you. You simply must try the salmon tartare. It's prepared with a molecular gastronomy technique I thought might interest someone with your scientific background. As she expertly steers him toward the catering station, I catch her meaningful glance toward father. Another potential conversation about my independent career prospects successfully diverted. The string quartet begins playing Pachelbel's Canon, the same piece they played at Nathaniel's engagement party last year. Father moves toward the center of the room, raising his champagne glass with the authority of a man accustomed to commanding attention. Friends, family, distinguished guests, his voice carries easily across the ballroom. If I could have your attention for a moment. The conversations gradually quiet as all eyes turn toward him. This is the moment I've been anticipating all evening, the proud father's toast to his accomplished daughter. But knowing what I now know, I listen with different ears. Tonight we celebrate not just academic achievement, but the culmination of 24 years of careful nurturing, family support, and shared values, he begins. Natasha's success at Crestmore University represents everything the Pemberton family stands for: excellence, dedication, and loyalty. The applause ripples through the room as I stand frozen, glass in hand, watching father orchestrate this performance. His words sound loving, supportive, proud, exactly what any daughter would want to hear from her father on such a significant night. But individual achievement, however remarkable, gains its true meaning only within the context of family legacy, he continues. The Pemberton name has stood for integrity and responsibility in Harbor City for 3 generations. Natasha's academic success adds another distinguished chapter to that story. Another chapter, not a new beginning. Addition to the existing narrative, not the start of an independent story. Every phrase reinforces the same message: my achievements belong to the family, not to me. As we look toward the future, I'm confident that Natasha will continue to honor the values that shaped her success, maintaining the close family bonds that have always been our greatest strength. The room erupts in enthusiastic applause. Glasses clink in toasts to my continued dependence disguised as celebration of my achievement. I raise my own glass, smile at the appropriate moments, accept the congratulations that flow toward me like a river of beautiful lies. But behind my practiced smile, something fundamental has shifted. For the first time in my life, I'm seeing my family clearly, not as the loving support system I'd imagined, but as a sophisticated control mechanism designed to harness my talents while preventing my independence. The grandfather clock chimes 11, and I realize with crystal clarity that this graduation party isn't celebrating the beginning of my adult life. It's marking the end of my illusions about what that life was meant to become. As the applause fades and conversations resume, I catch Celeste's eye across the room. She raises her glass toward me with a smile that manages to be both sisterly and triumphant, a toast to my continued naivety, my successful management, my beautiful cage disguised as loving family protection. I raise my glass in return, but my smile has changed. It's no longer the grateful expression of an honored daughter. It's the calculating look of a woman who's finally understood the game being played around her, and who's beginning to plan her next move. The moment that shatters everything comes at 11:43 p.m., as the evening winds down and guests begin making their gracious departures. I'm standing near the grand staircase, accepting final congratulations from Professor Martinez, when I hear Father's voice drifting from his private study. The heavy oak door stands slightly ajar, and his words carry clearly in the sudden quiet between musical pieces. The modification is complete, he asks, his tone businesslike despite the late hour. Signed and witnessed, comes Nathaniel's reply. Dr. Whitmore assured me the new provisions take effect immediately. The pharmaceutical patents, the research licensing potential, the Meridian job opportunity, everything channels through the family trust now. My blood turns to ice. They're not just talking about the inheritance anymore. They're discussing my research, my patents, my career opportunities. Everything I've earned through years of dedicated study. Excellent. And the employment contract adjustments? Already drafted. If she accepts the Meridian position, all intellectual property developed using Pemberton family resources, including her education, reverts to the family holding company. She'll receive a comfortable salary, of course, but the real value stays where it belongs. The champagne flute slips from my numb fingers, but this time I catch it before it can shatter against the marble floor. Professor Martinez notices my suddenly pale complexion. Natasha? Are you feeling all right? You look like you've seen a ghost. I force a weak smile. Just tired. It's been an overwhelming evening. She nods sympathetically and moves away, leaving me frozen in place as the magnitude of their betrayal becomes clear. This isn't simply about inheritance anymore. They've orchestrated a complete takeover of my professional future, my intellectual property, my life's work. What about the research fellowship at Cambridge? Father's voice continues from the study. The one she mentioned last month? Already handled, Celeste's voice joins the conversation, and my heart sinks further. I had lunch with Mrs. Pemberton Hartwell last week, you know, the one who sits on Cambridge's Board of International Programs. Mentioned some concerns about Natasha's readiness for such independence. Academic brilliance doesn't always translate to emotional maturity, after all. The casual cruelty of it takes my breath away. While I've been focused on grades and research and making the family proud, they've been systematically dismantling every path to independence I might discover. Brilliant work, both of you, Father says with genuine warmth. more warmth than I've heard in his voice all evening when speaking about my actual achievements. The family legacy remains intact, and Natasha gets to feel accomplished while staying safely within appropriate boundaries. Appropriate boundaries. The phrase echoes in my mind as I realize the full scope of their manipulation. Every choice I thought I was making independently, my research focus, my career applications, even my social connections, has been shaped by their invisible influence. I think back to last year when I'd mentioned interest in the biotechnology startup scene in Boston. Within days, Mother had arranged a series of social commitments that made it impossible for me to attend the networking events I'd planned. When I'd expressed frustration, she'd sweetly suggested that perhaps I was overextending myself, that family obligations should take priority. Or the time I'd been invited to present my research at an international conference in Geneva. Father had suddenly needed surgery for a minor condition that week, surgery that was mysteriously postponed once the conference dates had passed. The pattern becomes crystal clear now, stretching back years. Every opportunity for independence intercepted, every path to financial autonomy redirected, every chance for professional recognition carefully managed to benefit the family rather than me personally. She suspects nothing? Vivian's voice joins the conversation, and I press closer to the doorway, my heart hammering so loudly I'm certain they'll hear it. Nothing at all, Nathaniel chuckles. You should have seen her face during that toast earlier. Pure gratitude. She actually believes we're proud of her for her own sake. Well, we are proud, Father clarifies with patronizing affection. She's exceeded every expectation. The pharmaceutical contacts alone will be invaluable for our investment portfolio. And having a biomedical engineer in the family opens doors we've never had access to before. They're proud of my utility. Proud of how effectively they can monetize my education. Proud of the social capital my achievements bring to the family name. But proud of me as an individual? As a daughter who deserves to control her own destiny? The silence stretches as I process this final revelation. I am not their daughter in any meaningful sense, I'm their investment. A carefully cultivated asset that's finally matured enough to generate returns. The only risk now is if she develops romantic attachments, Celeste observes thoughtfully. Remember what happened with the Morrison boy last year? He was encouraging her to apply for that research position in California. Already addressed, Vivian replies smoothly. I had a lovely chat with his mother about family compatibility. Young men with encouraging independent career women rarely make suitable long-term partners for daughters from established families. I remember David Morrison, the brilliant chemistry PhD student who'd taken genuine interest in my research and my dreams. Our relationship had shown such promise until suddenly, inexplicably, his behavior had changed. He'd become distant, formal, eventually explaining that he'd realized we wanted different things from life. Now I understand. They hadn't just discouraged him, they'd likely suggested that pursuing me came with complications he couldn't handle. The Pemberton family influence had poisoned yet another potential path to independence. What if she simply refuses the family structure? The question comes from Dr. Whitmore, and my breath catches as I wait for the answer. Then she discovers how difficult life becomes for young professionals without family support, Father replies with chilling pragmatism. Research funding sources dry up, patent applications face unexpected delays, professional references become mysteriously unavailable. We've spent 24 years building her reputation in this city, we can just as easily tear it down. The threat hangs in the air like poisonous gas. They're not just offering me a comfortable cage, they're promising to destroy me if I refuse it. Besides, Celeste adds with a laugh that sounds like breaking glass, where would she go? What would she do? She's never made a major decision without family input. She's never lived independently, never managed her own finances, never built relationships outside our social circle. Independence sounds appealing in theory, but the reality would terrify her. The words cut deeper than any physical wound because there's truth in them. I have been sheltered, guided, protected from real-world complications by family wealth and influence. I've focused so intensely on academic achievement that I've never developed the practical skills for independent living. But as I stand here in the shadows, listening to them dissect my character and plan my future like corporate executives strategizing a hostile takeover, something unexpected happens. The fear they expect me to feel, it doesn't come. Instead, a cold, clear rage settles over me like armor. They've underestimated the very intelligence they've been trying to control. They've assumed that academic brilliance can't translate to strategic thinking, that years of rigorous research haven't taught me how to analyze complex problems and develop innovative solutions. They're about to discover they're wrong. The study door opens wider, and I slip quietly up the staircase before they can emerge and find me eavesdropping. But I've heard enough. More than enough. In my childhood bedroom, I sit at the desk where I've spent countless hours studying, and for the first time in my life, I begin applying my analytical skills to the problem of my own liberation. They want to control my future. They've just handed me the blueprint for dismantling their control. They think I'm too sheltered to survive independently. They're about to learn that intelligence adapts, that brilliant minds find ways to overcome any obstacle. They believe family loyalty will keep me trapped in their beautiful cage. They've just taught me that blood relations mean nothing compared to respect, trust, and genuine love. The graduation party continues downstairs, but I'm no longer part of it. I'm no longer the grateful daughter celebrating family support. I'm a woman planning her escape. I don't waste time with tears or self-pity. Instead, I pull out my laptop and begin documenting everything with the same methodical precision I use for laboratory research. Every conversation I can remember, every suspicious coincidence, every time opportunities mysteriously disappeared, all of it goes into a detailed timeline that reveals the systematic manipulation spanning years of my life. The bedside clock reads 12:47 a.m. when I finish the documentation. The party sounds have faded to occasional murmurs as staff clean up the ballroom below. My family thinks they've successfully managed another potential crisis, that their brilliant daughter remains safely contained within their predetermined boundaries. They have no idea I'm sitting here reverse engineering their entire control system. I open my email and compose 3 messages. The first goes to Dr. Sarah Chen at Meridian Pharmaceuticals, not the Dr. Chen from tonight's party, but the research director who offered me the position based on my thesis work. My message is carefully neutral, professional, simply requesting a private meeting to discuss the employment terms in detail. The second email goes to Professor Williams at Cambridge, inquiring about the research fellowship timeline and application requirements. I phrase it as academic curiosity rather than urgent interest, avoiding anything that might trigger family intervention. The third message is the most important, a carefully worded inquiry to James Fletcher, the intellectual property attorney whose name appeared in my research advisor's contacts. I need to understand exactly what rights I have to my own research and what leverage the family's financial support actually gives them. As I hit send on each message, I feel something shift inside me, the first taste of independent action taken without family approval or oversight. It's simultaneously terrifying and exhilarating. My phone buzzes with a text from David Morrison, the chemistry student whose interest in me had been so effectively eliminated last year. Saw the graduation announcement in the Harbor City Gazette. Congratulations. Would love to catch up if you're ever free for coffee. The timing feels like cosmic irony. David, who I thought had simply lost interest in me, reaching out now when I finally understand why our relationship really ended. I stare at his message for several minutes before responding, that would be wonderful. Are you free tomorrow afternoon? His reply comes within minutes, absolutely. Riverside Cafe at 2 p.m.? I agree, then sit back in my desk chair, processing the magnitude of what I'm planning. For the first time in my adult life, I'm making decisions based on my own desires rather than family expectations. The sensation is both liberating and terrifying. My bedroom door creaks open, and Nathaniel peers inside. Hey, still awake? I wanted to thank you for such a great evening. The family's really proud of you, Tash. The childhood nickname sounds like acid now. I turn in my chair to face him, studying his features in the lamplight. My brother, who just spent the evening rewriting legal documents to steal my future, now playing the role of loving sibling. It was a beautiful party, I reply carefully. Very thoughtfully planned. Every detail perfectly orchestrated. He doesn't catch the double meaning, instead beaming with satisfaction. Mom and Dad wanted everything to be perfect for your big night. We all know how hard you've worked. Yes, all that hard work should really pay off now, I agree, watching his face for any sign of guilt or awareness. There's none. He genuinely believes he's protecting family interests, that what they've done is not just justified but necessary. I should let you get some sleep, he continues. Big day tomorrow, right? Didn't you mention wanting to visit some labs or something? The casual fishing expedition confirms my suspicions. They're already monitoring my activities, ready to intervene if I show signs of pursuing independent opportunities. Actually, I thought I'd take a few days to decompress. Maybe catch up with some old friends, do some reading. Nothing too structured. Great idea. You deserve some downtime after all that intense studying. His relief is visible. Relaxation and social activities fall well within acceptable parameters. Well, good night, sis. Love you. Love you too, I reply automatically, though the words feel hollow now. Love shouldn't require surveillance and control. Love shouldn't systematically undermine the beloved's autonomy and dreams. After he leaves, I continue my research into intellectual property law, patent rights, and employment contracts. My scientific training serves me well here. I approach each legal concept like a complex molecular structure, breaking it down into component parts until I understand how they interact. By 3 a.m., I have a clearer picture of my situation. The family's financial support for my education does give them some claims, but not the comprehensive control they're assuming. My research was conducted using university facilities and resources, not exclusively family funding. The patents on my cellular regeneration discoveries are filed under my name, with the university as co-holder. They've been bluffing, using my ignorance of legal realities to make their threats seem more powerful than they actually are. I draft a detailed email to myself, outlining everything I've learned and uploading copies of all relevant documents to a cloud storage account they can't access. If this becomes a legal battle, I want comprehensive documentation from the beginning. My laptop chimes softly with a new message. Professor Martinez from the ethics department has responded to an inquiry I'd sent weeks ago about research collaboration opportunities. Natasha, I apologize for the delayed response. I've been reviewing your cellular regeneration work with colleagues at the Brennan Institute in Switzerland. They're extremely interested in funding independent research along similar lines. Would you be available for a video conference next week? The timing is perfect, or perhaps not coincidental at all. I suspect my family's attempts to control my career path have been more visible to my academic contacts than I'd realized. Professor Martinez may be offering this opportunity precisely because she recognizes the constraints I'm facing. I accept the meeting immediately, then spend another hour researching the Brennan Institute. It's a prestigious independent research facility known for supporting innovative scientists who need freedom from traditional academic or corporate limitations. Their fellowship programs are highly competitive but offer complete autonomy and generous funding. As dawn begins to lighten my bedroom windows, I finally close my laptop and lie back on my childhood bed, staring at the ceiling where glow-in-the-dark stars still mark the constellations I'd memorized in middle school. This room represents everything I'm about to leave behind: the security, the predictability, the careful boundaries that have shaped my entire life. But those boundaries have become a prison, and I've finally found the key. The house settles into the quiet of early morning. My parents and siblings sleep peacefully, confident that their strategy has succeeded, that their valuable asset remains safely under management. They have no idea that their brilliant daughter spent the night dismantling their control system with the same analytical precision she applies to molecular research. I think about David Morrison's text, about Professor Martinez's email, about the 3 messages I sent to potential allies in my quest for independence. Each represents a thread in a new network I'm building, connections based on mutual respect and shared interests rather than blood ties and financial obligations. My phone alarm is set for 8 a.m., giving me 4 hours of sleep before I begin the most important day of my life. Not because of any graduation ceremony or family celebration, but because today I start building a future they didn't plan for me. A future that belongs entirely to me. I close my eyes and, for the first time in months, sleep without anxiety about family expectations or obligations. Tomorrow, I begin the careful work of extricating myself from their beautiful, suffocating control. But tonight, I rest in the knowledge that I'm finally awake. The morning after my graduation party, I wake with crystalline clarity and a sense of purpose I've never experienced before. While my family sleeps off the celebration downstairs, I'm already dressed and reviewing the responses to last night's emails. Dr. Chen from Meridian has agreed to meet this afternoon. Professor Williams from Cambridge wants to schedule a call. And most importantly, James Fletcher, the intellectual property attorney, has time for a consultation this morning. I slip out of the house before anyone else is awake, leaving a note that I've gone for a morning run, a perfectly normal activity that won't raise suspicions. Instead, I drive to Fletcher's office in the professional district downtown, my heart racing with anticipation and terror. Fletcher's waiting room is austere but reassuring, filled with law journals and intellectual property publications. When he calls me into his office, I'm struck by his direct manner and the way he listens without judgment as I explain my situation. "Ms. Pemberton," he says after I've outlined the basics, "what you're describing is unfortunately more common than you might think. Families with significant wealth often view their children's achievements as family assets rather than individual accomplishments." He pulls out a legal pad and begins sketching out the reality of my situation. "The good news is that your research patents are filed correctly under your name. The university holds co-ownership, but that's standard academic practice. Your family's financial support for your education doesn't automatically give them rights to your intellectual property." Relief floods through me. So they can't actually control my patents? Not legally, no. However, his expression grows more serious. They can make life very difficult through other means. Funding challenges, professional reputation attacks, social pressure. Wealthy families have many tools for indirect control. We spend the next hour mapping out my legal position and the steps needed to protect my independence. The consultation costs more than I've ever spent on myself outside of education, but it's the best investment I've ever made. By noon, I'm sitting across from David Morrison at Riverside Cafe, studying the face I'd thought had simply lost interest in me. He looks older, more serious than I remember, but his smile when he sees me is genuine and warm. "I wasn't sure you'd actually show up," he admits, stirring sugar into his coffee. "After last year, I figured the Pemberton family had made their position pretty clear." "What position was that, exactly?" David's expression grows uncomfortable. "Natasha, you really don't know what happened?" "I thought. I assumed you were part of the decision." My stomach clenches. "Tell me everything." He describes a lunch meeting with his mother, who'd been contacted by Vivian with concerns about David's intentions regarding me. The conversation had been polite but unmistakably clear. David was a promising young scientist with a bright future, but romantic involvement with a Pemberton daughter came with expectations and complications that could derail his career. She suggested that perhaps I didn't fully understand the responsibilities that come with dating someone from your family's position, David explains, his voice bitter with remembered humiliation. "When I said I cared about you as a person, not your family's money," she smiled and said that was exactly why I wasn't suitable. That someone who didn't understand the importance of family legacy could never make you truly happy. The casual cruelty of it steals my breath. They hadn't just discouraged him, they'd made him feel inadequate, unsuitable, not good enough for me based on his middle-class background and independent thinking. "I thought about fighting it," David continues. "But then I started wondering if maybe they were right. Maybe you really did want someone who understood that world, who could fit into those expectations. When you didn't reach out after I pulled back, I figured that confirmed it." "I didn't reach out because I thought you'd lost interest in me," I say quietly. I had no idea they'd interfered. We sit in silence for several moments, processing the year of separation based on lies and manipulation. David reaches across the table and touches my hand gently. "For what it's worth," he says, "I never stopped caring about you. Your research, your passion for discovery, the way you light up when you talk about cellular regeneration, that's the Natasha I was interested in. Not the family name or the social position." His words crack something open inside me that I didn't know was frozen. This is what genuine interest feels like, someone who values my mind, my work, my authentic self rather than my utility to family goals. David, I say carefully, what would you say if I told you I'm planning to break free from my family's control? That I want to pursue my research independently, build my own career, make my own choices? His face brightens with the first real smile I've seen from him. I'd say it's about time. And I'd ask how I can help. We spend the next 2 hours planning. David has maintained connections with several research facilities that value innovation over family pedigree. He knows funding sources that support independent scientists, networks of professionals who've built careers outside traditional academic hierarchies. There's a community of researchers who've chosen freedom over security, he explains. It's challenging, but the work is yours. The discoveries belong to you. The recognition is earned, not inherited. By the time I leave the cafe, I have concrete steps mapped out, applications to submit, contacts to make, resources to investigate. More importantly, I have an ally who understands both my scientific capabilities and my need for independence. My phone rings as I'm driving home. Vivian's name appears on the screen, and I answer with practiced casualness. Darling, where have you been? We expected you home for lunch. I've prepared your favorite salad, and Mrs. Wellington wanted to stop by to discuss some volunteer opportunities that might interest you. Volunteer opportunities, another way to keep me busy with approved activities while preventing pursuit of independent career goals. I had coffee with an old friend from university. Nothing important. Oh. Anyone I know? The fishing expedition begins immediately. David Morrison. We were just catching up on academic news. A pause. David Morrison, the name sounds familiar. Wasn't he that young man from last year? The chemistry student? She knows exactly who he is, but she's testing whether I've discovered their interference. Yes, that's him. He's doing interesting work in pharmaceutical applications. How lovely. Well, do hurry home, dear. Mrs. Wellington is so eager to discuss the Literacy Foundation board position. It would be perfect for someone with your background. A board position on a family friends foundation, prestigious enough to satisfy social expectations, time-consuming enough to interfere with career development, and firmly within the acceptable boundaries of family influence. I'll be there soon, I promise, though I have no intention of accepting any position that furthers their containment strategy. As I pull into our circular driveway, I see Mrs. Wellington's silver Bentley already waiting. The afternoon's manipulation session is prepared and ready. But now I'm armed with knowledge, legal clarity, and the beginnings of an independent support network. They think today will be another successful step in managing my future. They have no idea I spent the morning securing my legal rights and the afternoon rebuilding connections they'd severed. I walk into the house with the same smile I've worn for years at family gatherings. But everything has changed. I'm no longer the grateful daughter accepting guidance and protection. I'm an undercover agent gathering intelligence in enemy territory. And tomorrow, I begin implementing my escape plan. The next 3 weeks unfold like a carefully choreographed dance where I'm the only one who knows the real steps. My family believes they're successfully managing my post-graduation transition, steering me toward approved activities and away from independent opportunities. What they don't realize is that I'm using their own tactics against them, smiling compliance masking systematic rebellion. Mrs. Wellington's Literacy Foundation board position becomes my perfect cover. I attend weekly meetings, participate in planning discussions, and demonstrate exactly the kind of civic engagement that satisfies family expectations. But what my parents don't know is that the Foundation's work puts me in regular contact with Harbor City's most successful independent professionals, lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs who've built careers outside family dynasties. During a Foundation planning session, I meet Dr. Amanda Cross, a biotech entrepreneur who built her own pharmaceutical company after leaving her family's textile empire. She recognizes something familiar in my carefully controlled enthusiasm for the Foundation's educational initiatives. You have the look of someone with bigger plans than literacy fundraising, she observes quietly during a coffee break. Not that there's anything wrong with philanthropy, but your mind is clearly designed for more complex challenges. I study her face, weighing the risk of honesty. Dr. Cross has built exactly the kind of independent success I'm dreaming of, but she also moves in circles that overlap with my family's social network. I'm exploring various options, I say carefully. Trying to understand different career paths in biomedical research. She nods knowingly. The challenge with family expectations is that they often reflect the previous generation's understanding of success rather than current opportunities. Would you be interested in having lunch sometime? I could share some insights about navigating the transition from academic research to practical application. I accept immediately, recognizing the lifeline she's offering. Dr. Cross has successfully done exactly what I'm attempting, broken free from family control to build something meaningful on her own terms. Meanwhile, my carefully planted seeds are beginning to sprout. Professor Williams from Cambridge calls to discuss the research fellowship in detail. The position offers complete autonomy, generous funding, and access to cutting-edge facilities. Most importantly, it's based in England, providing physical distance from family influence. The selection committee was particularly impressed with your cellular regeneration work, Professor Williams explains during our video call. Dr. Matthews mentioned that your approach to controlled cell differentiation could revolutionize cancer treatment protocols. I conduct the interview from the university library, where I've established a pattern of research sessions that provide cover for increasingly frequent secret communications. My family sees productive academic engagement. I'm actually building an international network of professional contacts. The Brennan Institute video conference proves even more promising. Dr. Reiner, the research director, outlines their fellowship program with obvious excitement about my potential contribution. We specialize in supporting researchers who need freedom to pursue innovative approaches, she explains. Too often, brilliant minds are constrained by institutional politics or family pressures that prioritize reputation over discovery. The phrase, family pressures, lands like a direct hit. Dr. Reiner clearly understands the challenges facing researchers from prominent families where individual achievement becomes subordinate to collective image management. But my family isn't remaining passive. They're escalating their own efforts to lock down my future, and their methods are becoming increasingly sophisticated. I discover this during what I think is a casual dinner conversation with Father. I had an interesting call today from Dr. Richards at Westbrook Medical Center, he mentions while cutting his steak. Apparently, they're looking for a research coordinator for their new oncology wing. Someone with your background would be perfect. The opportunity sounds attractive: prestigious medical center, cancer research focus, excellent salary. But I recognize the trap immediately. Westbrook Medical is on the Pemberton Family Foundation's board. Dr. Richards has received significant donations from our family over the years. A position there would give them indirect oversight of my work while appearing to support my career goals. That's very thoughtful of Dr. Richards, I reply carefully. What kind of timeline were they considering? Well, they'd want someone to start soon. Research coordinator positions require significant administrative responsibility, but the compensation package is excellent. And of course, working locally means maintaining family connections. The emphasis on locally and family connections makes their strategy clear. They're offering a comfortable professional cage, good salary, respectable title, work that appears meaningful but keeps me firmly within their sphere of influence. I'll certainly consider it, I say, though I have no intention of accepting anything that increases their control over my career. That evening, Celeste appears in my room while I'm supposedly reading academic journals. In reality, I'm reviewing contract terms for the Cambridge Fellowship and researching Swiss work visa requirements. Tasha, can we talk? Her tone is unusually serious, lacking the usual playful manipulation. I've been thinking about our conversation at the graduation party. The things you said about contribution and achievement. I close my laptop carefully, giving her my full attention. This feels different from her usual performance. I want you to know that I understand your frustration, she continues, sitting on my bed with uncharacteristic vulnerability. I know I haven't exactly distinguished myself academically or professionally. But that doesn't mean I don't value what you've accomplished. The admission surprises me. For the first time, Celeste seems to be speaking authentically rather than manipulatively. The thing is, she continues, I'm actually scared about what happens if you leave. Not because of money or inheritance or any of that. But because you're the only person in this family who's ever treated me like I might be capable of more than just looking pretty and spending money. Her words hit unexpectedly hard. I remember helping her with homework, encouraging her creative writing, defending her against critics who dismissed her as shallow. Despite everything that's happened, part of me still loves my sister and wants to believe in her potential. Celeste, I say gently, you are capable of more. But staying trapped in this family's expectations won't help either of us discover what that might be. She nods, tears gathering in her eyes. I know. I don't know how to be anything else. You've always been the smart one, the achiever. I've been the pretty one, the charming one. What am I if I'm not that? The conversation reveals something I hadn't considered. My family's control system has trapped them too, not just me. Celeste has been locked into a role as surely as I have, defined by limitations rather than possibilities. You could find out, I suggest carefully. You could come with me. The offer surprises us both. I hadn't planned to suggest it, but seeing her genuine vulnerability awakens the protective instincts that made me love her despite her participation in their control system. Her face shows hope for a moment before fear reasserts itself. I couldn't. I wouldn't know how to survive without all this. She gestures around the elegant room, the comfortable luxury we've always taken for granted. Neither do I admit. But I'm going to learn. That night, I lie awake considering the complexity of family bonds and the possibility that even damaged relationships might be salvageable under different circumstances. But I also recognize that I can't save Celeste unless she's willing to save herself. My phone buzzes with an encrypted message from Dr. Cross. Coffee tomorrow? Have some contacts you should meet. I respond immediately, absolutely. The next phase of my escape plan is about to begin. And this time, I'm not operating alone. The coffee meeting with Dr. Cross transforms everything. She arrives at the small downtown cafe with two other women, Dr. Lisa Park, a former Harvard researcher who now runs an independent biotech consulting firm, and Sarah Mitchell, a patent attorney who specializes in protecting intellectual property for scientists breaking away from institutional constraints. We call ourselves the Liberation Network, Dr. Cross explains with a wry smile. Women who've successfully escaped various forms of professional or family control to build independent careers in science and medicine. As we settle into a corner booth, I realize I'm not alone in my struggle. These successful, confident women have all navigated similar challenges: family expectations, financial manipulation, professional constraints designed to limit their autonomy. The Pemberton family situation isn't unique, Dr. Park explains. We've helped several young scientists extract themselves from similar circumstances. The key is understanding that financial independence isn't the end goal, it's the foundation for authentic choice. Sarah Mitchell pulls out a tablet and begins outlining practical strategies. Your intellectual property is solid, but we need to protect it proactively. There are legal mechanisms for ensuring your research remains yours regardless of family pressure or institutional politics. We spend 3 hours mapping out a comprehensive escape plan. The Cambridge Fellowship provides international legitimacy and physical distance. The Brennan Institute offers long-term research autonomy. But most importantly, these women are offering something my family never has: respect for my capability to make my own decisions. The hardest part isn't the logistics, Dr. Cross warns. It's the psychological warfare that begins once they realize you're serious about independence. Family manipulation becomes vicious when control is genuinely threatened. Her words prove prophetic. That evening, Father requests a private meeting in his study, the same room where I'd overheard their conspiracy 3 weeks ago. This time, I enter willingly, armed with knowledge and prepared for battle. Natasha, I've been hearing some concerning things, he begins without preamble. Dr. Richards mentioned that you haven't responded to his research coordinator offer. Mrs. Wellington says you seem distracted during foundation meetings. And your mother is worried about these new acquaintances you've been cultivating. The surveillance network is more extensive than I'd realized. They're monitoring my activities, tracking my contacts, analyzing my behavior for signs of rebellion. I'm simply exploring various opportunities, I reply calmly. Isn't that what responsible career planning looks like? His expression sharpens. Responsible career planning involves consulting family wisdom, not pursuing secretive meetings with people who don't understand our values or circumstances. The mask is slipping. The loving, supportive father is being replaced by the calculating businessman who sees me as an asset requiring management. Perhaps, he continues, it's time we discussed your future more explicitly. The family trust has provisions for supporting your career development, but those provisions require certain commitments in return. I lean forward, feigning interest. What kind of commitments? Remaining in Harbor City. Accepting family guidance on major decisions. Ensuring that any research discoveries or patents benefit the family's collective interests rather than just individual advancement. There it is, the cage spelled out in clear terms. Financial support in exchange for complete control over my life, my work, my future. And if I prefer to pursue independent opportunities? His smile turns cold. Then you'll discover how difficult independence can be for someone without established professional networks, financial resources, or family support. The scientific community is smaller than you might think, Natasha. Reputation matters. References matter. Funding sources can become surprisingly scarce for researchers who've burned bridges with their own families. The threat is delivered with quiet certainty. He's not bluffing about his ability to damage my career prospects through his extensive network of influence. I see, I say carefully. And this ultimatum applies immediately? It's not an ultimatum, he replies with false warmth. It's a loving offer of continued support in exchange for reasonable family loyalty. Dr. Richards is expecting your acceptance by the end of the week. I nod thoughtfully, as if seriously considering his proposal. May I have some time to think it over? Of course. Though I hope you'll remember everything this family has invested in your success. It would be tragic to throw away such a promising future for the illusion of independence. After leaving his study, I find Nathaniel waiting in the hallway, clearly positioned to intercept me. His expression combines brotherly concern with something harder, determination to prevent my escape from family control. Tash, I heard you talking with Dad. I hope you're not seriously considering rejecting the Westbrook position. It's an incredible opportunity. Is it? Or is it just another way to keep me dependent on family approval? He sighs with exaggerated patience. You're overthinking everything since graduation. Not every offer comes with hidden agendas. Sometimes success requires accepting help from people who care about you. Like you cared when you altered the will 3 weeks ago. The words slip out before I can stop them. Nathaniel's face goes pale, then hardens with defensive anger. You were eavesdropping? I was existing in my own home when I overheard my own family planning to steal my future. Steal? His voice rises before he catches himself and glances around nervously. Natasha, that's ridiculous. Everything we've done is to protect you, to ensure family security, to prevent you from making impulsive decisions that could damage everyone's interests. My interests don't matter. Your interests are family interests. They always have been. The education, the support, the opportunities, none of that happened in isolation. You owe your success to family investment, and that creates obligations. The argument we're having represents 24 years of unspoken tension finally erupting into open conflict. We're no longer pretending to be loving siblings, we're adversaries fighting for control of my destiny. I don't owe you my entire life, I say quietly. Success shouldn't require surrendering autonomy. And independence shouldn't require betraying the people who made that success possible. We stare at each other across the hallway, the elegant family home suddenly feeling like a battleground. This is the moment where family loyalty and personal freedom become irreconcilable forces. Nathaniel, I say finally, I love you. But I won't sacrifice my future to preserve your comfort with the status quo. His expression shifts to something I've never seen before, genuine fear masked as righteous anger. If you do this, Natasha, there's no coming back. Family forgives many things, but betrayal isn't one of them. The ultimatum hangs in the air between us. Choose family control or face permanent exile from everything I've ever known. Standing in the marble hallway where I played as a child, surrounded by portraits of generations of successful Pembertons, I make my choice. Then I guess I'll have to build a new definition of family, I reply, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. I walk to my room, close the door, and begin drafting my acceptance letter for the Cambridge Fellowship. The war for my independence has officially begun. The week that follows feels like living in a pressure cooker designed to test my resolve. My family deploys every psychological weapon in their arsenal, alternating between manipulation tactics with precision timing that would impress a military strategist. Monday brings Vivian's tears. She appears in my room at breakfast time, eyes red-rimmed, clutching a tissue with theatrical desperation. Darling, I barely slept last night thinking about our conversation with your father. Have we failed you somehow? Have we not shown you enough love? The performance is masterful, maternal anguish designed to trigger guilt and protective instincts. She continues with trembling voice about family legacy, about generations of Pembertons who sacrificed individual desires for collective security, about her own dreams abandoned to support father's business empire. I gave up my art career to build this family, she whispers. Not because anyone forced me, but because I understood that some things matter more than personal fulfillment. I thought you understood that too. Tuesday escalates to emotional blackmail. Father arranges a surprise visit from my elderly grandmother, Eleanor Pemberton, the family matriarch whose approval has always been precious to me. At 91, she's sharp as ever, arriving with stories about family members who chose independence over loyalty and lived to regret it. Your great-uncle Marcus tried to break away in 1987, she tells me over afternoon tea, her silver jewelry catching the light as she gestures. Brilliant engineer, full of modern ideas about individual achievement. Ended up bankrupt and alone, begging the family for help when his independent ventures collapsed. The cautionary tale is designed to terrify me into submission, painting independence as inevitable failure and family support as the only path to lasting success. Wednesday brings professional sabotage disguised as helpful networking. Dr. Richards calls personally to express disappointment about my delayed response to his offer. I spoke with your father about timeline flexibility, but I'm afraid the research coordinator position requires immediate commitment. Other candidates are eager to accept. The artificial deadline is designed to force a panicked decision before I can fully explore alternatives. But I'm prepared for this tactic, thanks to my conversations with the Liberation Network. I appreciate your understanding, Dr. Richards, but I need to pursue the option that best serves my research goals, I reply calmly. If that means the Westbrook position isn't available, I respect that decision. His surprised silence tells me he expected panic, not composed professionalism. The family's control system depends on my emotional reactions. When I respond with analytical calm, their manipulation loses its power. Thursday brings the most devastating attack. They target my relationship with father. During what I think is a routine dinner conversation, he mentions experiencing chest pains lately, stress-related symptoms that have been worrying his doctor. It's probably nothing serious, he says with careful casualness while pressing his hand to his heart. Though Dr. Morrison says family stress can trigger cardiac events in men my age. The uncertainty about your future is challenging for your old father's peace of mind. The manipulation is surgical in its precision. Father has always been my emotional weak spot, the one family member whose love felt genuine and unconditional. Using his health as leverage represents their nuclear option, the threat designed to break my resolve completely. But instead of panic, I feel cold clarity. This is exactly what Dr. Cross warned me about, the moment when family love reveals itself as conditional control, when emotional bonds become weapons deployed to maintain power structures. Dad, I say quietly, if my pursuit of career independence is causing you genuine health problems, perhaps you should speak with a therapist about managing family anxiety. But I won't sacrifice my future to medicate your need for control. His face goes through several expressions, surprise, hurt, then something resembling respect before hardening into businesslike determination. Friday brings the final ultimatum delivered with corporate precision. Father requests a formal meeting in his study, with Mother, Nathaniel, and even Celeste present as witnesses. The family unit arrayed against my individual rebellion. "We've prepared a comprehensive package," he announces, spreading documents across his desk like evidence in a legal proceeding. The Westbrook position, family trust provisions, a 5-year career development plan that ensures your success while maintaining family unity. The papers detail a life plan down to the smallest element, approved research topics, acceptable social connections, supervised professional advancement, even suggested timelines for marriage and children. It's a complete blueprint for controlled existence disguised as generous support. "Sign these agreements, and your financial security is guaranteed," Father continues. "Refuse them, and you forfeit all family support, financial, social, and emotional. We won't subsidize rebellion against family values." The room falls silent as I review their terms. Every detail reinforces their control while appearing to offer opportunity. It's a masterpiece of manipulation, the illusion of choice within carefully constructed boundaries. I look at each family member's face, seeing hope, determination, fear, and calculation reflected back at me. These people raised me, supported my education, celebrated my achievements. They also systematically undermined my independence, manipulated my relationships, and now threaten to destroy my future if I refuse their control. "This is your final offer?" I ask calmly. "It's our best offer," Father confirms. "And our last offer." After this conversation, the family position becomes non-negotiable. I stand and gather the papers, folding them carefully before placing them in my purse. I need the weekend to make my final decision. Mother's face shows relief. She interprets my request as evidence that their pressure campaign has succeeded, that I'm wavering toward surrender. "Of course, darling," she says warmly. "Take all the time you need. We just want what's best for you." But as I leave the room, I catch Celeste's eye. My sister's expression shows something I haven't seen before, genuine sadness mixed with what might be admiration. She alone seems to understand that I'm not wavering toward submission but preparing for total separation. That night, I complete my applications to Cambridge and the Brennan Institute, upload final research documents to secure cloud storage, and transfer my savings to an account they can't access. I also write 3 letters, one to each of my parents and Nathaniel explaining my decision, and one to Celeste offering her the chance to build her own life outside their control. By Sunday morning, I'm ready to give my answer to their ultimatum. But first, I have one final conversation with the person who matters most in this decision, myself. Standing in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by academic trophies and family photos, I ask the question that will define my entire future: am I strong enough to choose uncertain freedom over comfortable control? The answer arrives with crystalline clarity. I've spent 24 years being strong enough to meet their expectations. Now it's time to discover if I'm strong enough to exceed my own. 2 years later, I stand in the gleaming laboratory of the Brennan Institute in Geneva, watching my research team celebrate our latest breakthrough in cellular regeneration therapy. The patent applications bear my name alone. The funding comes from sources that value innovation over family connections. The future stretches ahead with possibilities I define rather than inherit. Dr. Sarah Chen, not the family-connected Chen from Harbor City, but a brilliant researcher from Beijing, approaches with champagne and a smile that reaches her eyes. Natasha, the pharmaceutical licensing offers are extraordinary. 3 major companies want exclusive rights to your regeneration protocol. I accept the glass, marveling at how different celebration feels when it's earned rather than managed. Which offer provides the best research continuation funding? Meridian Pharmaceuticals, ironically enough. They're offering complete autonomy plus a research endowment that could fund independent investigation for the next decade. The irony isn't lost on me. The same company my family tried to control my access to is now courting me based purely on scientific merit. Independence has a way of clarifying which opportunities are genuine versus which are simply convenient for other people's agendas. My phone buzzes with a message from David Morrison, who's now finishing his PhD in Stockholm while we maintain a relationship built on mutual respect and shared intellectual passion rather than family approval or social convenience. Saw the Nature publication announcement. Proud of you. Dinner celebration when I'm back in Geneva next week? I respond immediately, absolutely. Bring your latest research data, I have ideas about collaborative applications. The relationship feels fundamentally different from anything I experienced while under family control. David values my mind, supports my career ambitions, and never asks me to diminish myself for his comfort or security. When we disagree, we debate ideas rather than question each other's fundamental right to independent thought. My laptop chimes with an encrypted email from Dr. Amanda Cross, who's become both mentor and friend over the past 2 years. Natasha, forwarding an interesting inquiry. Young woman from the Morrison family, pharmaceutical dynasty in Boston, needs advice about establishing research independence. Sound familiar? I smile, recognizing the pattern. The Liberation Network has grown significantly since my escape from Harbor City, helping dozens of young scientists navigate similar family control systems. Each successful independence creates ripple effects, inspiring others to choose authentic achievement over comfortable dependence. The irony of my new life is that professional success came faster without family interference than it ever could have under their management. International collaborations, innovative research directions, patent licensing agreements, everything flows more smoothly when decisions are based on scientific merit rather than social politics or family image management. My apartment overlooks Lake Geneva, modest but entirely mine. The rent comes from my research stipend rather than trust fund distributions. The furniture reflects my taste rather than family tradition. Most importantly, every choice, from career direction to weekend plans, belongs completely to me. The cost of this freedom has been substantial but worthwhile. I haven't spoken to father, mother, or Nathaniel since leaving Harbor City 18 months ago. Their attempts at contact evolved from angry demands to guilt-inducing pleas to threatening ultimatums before finally ceasing entirely. They've apparently moved forward with their original inheritance plans, distributing family wealth between the children who chose comfortable dependence over uncertain independence. Celeste represents the one genuine loss that still causes occasional heartache. She responded to my final letter with surprising honesty. "I'm not brave enough to leave, Tasha. But I understand why you had to. Maybe someday I'll find my own version of courage." Her Christmas card last year showed her enrolled in business classes at Harbor City College, small steps toward building capabilities beyond family dependency. I hope she eventually finds her own path to authentic achievement, but I've learned the hard way that no one can choose independence for another person. The most unexpected development has been the professional recognition that comes from work driven by genuine passion rather than family expectations. My cellular regeneration research has applications for cancer treatment, spinal cord injury recovery, and age-related tissue degeneration. Publications in top-tier journals, invitations to international conferences, collaboration requests from leading researchers worldwide. The scientific community has embraced work done freely rather than under constraint. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the Brennan Institute's director, appears at my lab window, gesturing for me to join her in the corridor. "Natasha, I have news that will interest you. The Nobel Committee has requested your research data for their preliminary review process. It's highly unusual for someone so early in their independent career, but your regeneration protocols are revolutionizing cellular medicine. The possibility feels surreal. Nobel recognition represents the pinnacle of scientific achievement, validation that comes from peers rather than family, based on contribution rather than connection. What's the timeline?" I ask, trying to maintain professional composure while my heart races with excitement. "Preliminary review this year, possible nomination next year, potential recognition within the next 5 years. Of course, these processes are unpredictable, but your work has attracted extraordinary attention. As we discuss the implications, I think about Father's prediction that independence would lead to professional failure and personal isolation. The opposite has proven true. Freedom from family control has unlocked potential I never knew existed, while authentic relationships have replaced the manipulative dynamics that characterized my controlled existence." My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown Harbor City number. "Natasha, this is Grandmother Eleanor. I heard about your research success. Perhaps it's time we talked." The message surprises me. Grandmother had been deployed as a weapon in their psychological warfare campaign, but her current outreach feels different, curious rather than manipulative, respectful rather than demanding. I craft a careful response. "Hello, Grandmother. I'd welcome a conversation if you're genuinely interested in my life rather than changing my choices. Her reply comes within minutes. Darling, I'm 93 years old. I no longer have time for manipulation. I'm simply proud of my granddaughter's achievements and curious about the woman you've become. Perhaps some family relationships can survive independence when they're based on genuine affection rather than control structures. Time will tell whether grandmother's interest represents authentic connection or another sophisticated manipulation attempt. Standing in my Swiss laboratory, surrounded by equipment purchased with grants I earned independently, working on research that could benefit humanity regardless of family profit margins, I finally understand what authentic success feels like. It's not about proving anything to the people who tried to control me. It's about discovering who I am when I'm free to become anything. The evening sun reflects off Lake Geneva as I prepare to leave the lab, my research secure, my future open, my choices entirely my own. Tomorrow brings new experiments, new discoveries, new possibilities limited only by imagination and capability rather than family expectations or social constraints. For the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I choose to be. And that choice belongs completely to me. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.